forgive me for my nails I was working on a bathroom yesterday, so I got a bunch of grout stuff still stuck in my fingernails. So that's what you're going to see if you see a little bit of white in my fingernails. Anyway, they say my sisters are not suitable for leadership. My sisters are, I think there's something out there with stats right now that says the most educated population in the country right now are black women. Hey, go check the stats. Go look it up for yourself. I believe that's a stat. Anyway, it's funny. We're watching a lot of this stuff that you see on the interwebs, all these different platforms. Everybody wants to talk about DEI. They're seeing the mayor of LA and, the FBI agent who was leading up the case in Las Vegas or New Orleans. New Orleans. And we all know where all of this stuff comes from. Anytime you see, it's not even only that it deals with my sisters, it deals with my brothers just the same. It's the same thing. We know where all of that stuff comes from. We know why people say the things that they say. But I'm here to tell you that my sisters are some of the sharpest women on the block. Absolutely sharp. They know what they're talking about. They know how to lead. You just haven't been around them, like I said before. You haven't been around them. All of the women that I had who worked in my company before I retired some years ago were black women. And what did I have to do? When I left my office, when I left on vacation, when I wasn't around, they were running the business. And they ran it to a T, to where I really had the ability to spend so much more time with my son, to go golfing, to go travel, to do whatever it was that I wanted to do. They ran the business. And I didn't think twice about it, because I knew that they were competent. I knew they knew their stuff. And the business I had was insurance, licensing, financials. That's the business that I had. You couldn't fool around with all the compliance of dealing with being an insurance agent. You couldn't fool around with folks who just weren't about understanding the products, the fiduciary responsibility. You couldn't fool around with that. But I didn't think twice, because I knew that the women that were in my company knew exactly what they were supposed to do. And I can trust them. And I had no problems. No problems. Decades of my business being open. No problems. Not one lawsuit. Not one failure of taking care of customers. None of that stuff. So what you have is, you have just a ton of people that from the appearance, from what you see, you automatically, because you haven't seen so many of us in these leadership roles and these positions, and the reason why that's the case is because we're not afforded the opportunity. You think that what you see is the main focal person, race, that's the security that you have, that as long as, if you don't see that particular race or that person, that gender in that position, then it doesn't feel right. It's not where what it needs to be. But here's the problem. The problem is, you allow all these other people to fail upwards. You allow these people, all of these other people allowed to fail upwards. So if they do anything wrong, if they cause any type of destruction or neglect, it's okay, Because what you've seen is through the years, that position is always being held with that particular race, that particular gender. So you've become more comfortable with that. But little do you know, if you look back in history, little do you know, there's a lot of black women inventors, a lot of black women scientists, a lot of black women mathematicians, a lot of black women politicians. You just don't know the history. You're just not familiar with the history. Because we also know that a lot of these schools are not trying to teach the history. They got the issues with the whole CRT thing, which is funny to me. It's like I'm supposed to just learn about somebody else's culture and be okay with that and completely be unknowing to or have an invisible history about myself, when I know that my folks have contributed and have built and have lost credit for so many things for centuries. But I'm supposed to be okay with looking at another culture and learn their stuff and be okay with their stuff and somehow say that, well, hey, I'm non-existent, I'm not worthy to be even irrelevant. Nah, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. So, like I said, with my sisters not being suitable for leadership, you got to get to know them. I can put up any bunch of sisters who, from an educational standpoint, would light up most of these folks out here. Opportunity standpoint, they've got to get afforded the opportunity. But they're not afforded the opportunity for the reasons we know. But here's the question. If you are so superior and you know that you just have abilities above everybody else, then what difference would it make if someone else got the opportunity? What difference would it make? Because you still would be in that position of superiority. You still would be the one who's more competent. And just like any other person, you could fire anybody else. But I think what happens is, it's almost similar to when our folks were not allowed to do so many things in this country, right? So many things in this country we weren't allowed to do. And it's, one of the things is games. And, games, they all have the same rules, same regulations. Everybody has to abide by that. And when you have a game and then you allow what you've seen, you allow our folks to get involved with that, oh man, somehow the tables all of a sudden turn. Because what's the difference now? The difference now is everybody's got to abide by the same rules and regulations because it's a game. That's the only way for it to work. Everybody has to abide. There's the set rules. And now what the difference has to be is who's going to be better at that game. And we all know, and we all have seen, that you allow the playing field to be the same way for everybody, you see there's a difference where all of a sudden the one culture that you denigrated and withheld and, enslaved and did all different types of things, all of a sudden you see that those folks have something to offer. They've changed certain things. Now all of a sudden it's more appealing the way that they play the game. Now all of a sudden I can make money off of what these folks are doing. So it's the same exact thing as it relates to any other position that's out here. Maybe some other culture has the ability to show you something different, how something else can be handled, how something else can be changed to benefit everyone else. But we still got a problem with giving those opportunities. Still got a problem with that. And I know where that comes from, because I know one segment of the population is looking at their relevance in this world, their numbers in this world, and they're getting concerned. And they somehow don't want to be having to shift that position that they currently have. That's kind of what the problem is. So anyway, my sisters are excellent leaders, great leaders. Got to give them the opportunities to be able to do it. I know, because I've hired sisters in my company. So I'm not talking to you from a standpoint of, hey, I don't have the experience. I absolutely have the experience. So that's why I can speak on it. I'll catch you on the next note. Peace out.